Okay, so we are familiar with certain Asian countries, so we say, being very high profile when it comes to the IT industry. Most obviously, I suppose it would be China and India. But today we're looking a bit more at Vietnam in terms of, I guess I would say maybe it's under the radar. You might be about to tell me that it's not, or it certainly shouldn't be. So can you give us just some sort of background as to the country's sort of IT stroke digital expertise?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, when you said it is under radar, it's definitely under radar. And though there are some big brands that are investing in Vietnam, like IBM, Intel, and Microsoft, for some of the thing, but it is definitely under radar. But however, and if you look at some of the reports that come out of from Gartner or AD Kearney, and AD Kearney publishes the global service locations every year, and Vietnam is in top 5, top 6, but still somehow people have not recognized the country to tap the potential for the current digital talent that is needed, right? So, I mean, the reason why we say Vietnam is getting quite unique in a place, the reason being population perspective, there are 98 million, and every year there's 900,000 plus young digital native talent pool are available. The government is investing in ICT infrastructure, and there's a lot of investment towards building the digital pools. The universities, they're doing it. They very well manage the COVID, and there's a very stable politics. If you look at the global peace index perspective, Vietnam is 64 compared to like India in 139, and China is 100 plus. So that way, the politically bit stable, and the cost perspective also is another attractiveness for really for people to consider where else they need to go to find the right people with a better price and the better talent that they can get. And in those aspects, Vietnam is coming up in one of the countries that everybody needs to consider. And more than that, I think, well, if I say so, the government initiative within the country, the target they put, right, and they want to grow. So they are saying the digital economy to grow 30% of the GDP. And that's how they're defining their national program. And the Ministry of Information, and what I hear and what I see, the commitment coming from them when I speak to the ambassador in UK as well. They have a 3-pillar strategy to focus the technology, and not just the people aspect, but also the infrastructure and the economy. So they are trying to do the big digital government programs with the support from UK as well. And there's a big push towards the digital economy, and making digital business is much more than through online. And they're trying to create a digital society in terms of the smart cities and smart transportations and so on. So there's a huge investment from government, and also the different countries who are joining up with the government to enable this country to achieve some of these programs by end of 2025. So in a way, the country is investing and growing, but again, it's untapped world, and not known very well.
Okay, but in terms of the fact that certainly in Europe, and I know specifically in the UK as well, there's a sort of bit of a skills shortage, whether it's already now, and the prediction is with the aging workforce, etc., it's going to be even more of a gap in the IT skills at the same time as we're all wanting to transform digitally, if you like. So there's even more pressure on those kinds of skills. It seems like a great match with this sort of expansion, the expertise that Vietnam offers, and companies like yourself, FPT, it's a great opportunity to bring your skills into Europe and the UK. Yes.
I think so. That's where I think see, when you look at the digital skill set, right, there's 2 aspects what people look at. They are looking for people who come with a digital mindset, right? And in that aspect, if you look at the existing a lot of projects or a lot of skill set that you have, you find a mix. One, people with the digital who are coming from university. The second thing, the people who are already working in the legacy, they're trying to transfer. But the amount of the digital transformation happening in the world, and especially in UK and Europe, the investments, if you look at, they need a massive people to scale up. The reason being, the business, if they don't adopt the digital skills and digital approaches, and they can't sustain the business. So everybody is running against the time to survive. At the same time, there is no talent. So that's, and there is a talent war in existing big countries like India, Eastern Europe, and China, and so on. So, and there is a huge attritions are going on currently. If you look at, there's a huge wages are going up. In that way, and in like Vietnam, and the investments they made in terms of education and society, and that is further adding a lot of value for some of the customers where we are dealing both in UK and Europe to start monetizing and tapping into the digital skills. And there's another important thing I would like to highlight, right? Being from FPT perspective, FPT is not just an IT or software. We also have our own universities. And to match the future, the skills that is required in the AI perspective. And we have created a university and tie up with some major research centers, university, to skill up the resources that needed for future in the AI alone. So it's one university that has come up is going to be the Asian's #1 AI university very soon. So that's why the talent is available there, and that is definitely needed for today's organizations in Europe.
Okay, and I know you like to describe Vietnam, and obviously FPT being a part of that, as being something of a bridge between Europe and Asia when it comes to technology. Can you perhaps just expand on that sort of thought?
Okay, I think I'll give a very simple answer to that. If I look at from the UK perspective, there is a good relationship is going on between UK and Vietnam, trade and government perspective, what they call as an UK Vietnam chambers. And if I see there, the kind of a discussion I see in 4 or 5 different areas, one being education, second being in a defense, and third being in healthcare, and fourth being in the digital side. And what they're trying to do is, like recently they published the UK funded a report to publish the maturity of Vietnam in the smart city, and comparing that with UK, and bringing the UK organizations to go and help support Vietnam to build their digital infrastructure. So there is a government push is happening now to enable the country in terms of the digitization and also access to the pool, and the same time vice versa, enabling Vietnam businesses to enter into the UK or European market and to expose the business relationships. So that way the bridge is already started. It is happening in the bilateral trade perspective. But when it comes to our perspective, what we are trying to help our customers, they have invested in some of the Asian countries. They have invested in Latin America. But earlier, as you said, the digital talent, the challenges. So we are enabling customers and hand-holding them to set up their businesses in case if they need it, which we did for a couple of insurance customers, or if they want to set up their own captives and run and operate their own IT operations, and we are helping them. So we have taken multiple approaches to promote the idea of Vietnam and how FPT can help them to bridge the talent gaps that they have today.
Okay, and in terms of FPT yourselves, the main opportunity you see is software outsourcing when it comes to sort of expanding your international presence. Is that right?
Yes, software outsourcing is one area, and also as an FPT, one of the unique, distinct thing about FPT is it's not just in some bunch of people available to deliver some projects, but most of the people comes with a product mindset. And FPT does build a lot of their own IPs that can compete with some of the bigger IPs and bigger solutions out there in the market in terms of blockchain, in terms of the robotic process automation, in terms of the chatbot, and in terms of the containers and the data platforms, and autonomous driving. So we do come with some products, and that also we are enabling to provide access to the market and the customers that could help them to accelerate their current digital initiatives.
Okay, and in terms of what you've done, because I know we're chatting today about, I'm going to talk a little bit about your planned expansions in particularly in Europe, but you're already, I know, have sort of presence or have done projects in places like Japan, the US, and in Europe. So perhaps could you give us, I understand you might not be able to name customers, but just give us some idea of one or two projects where you have helped folks in the international market.
No, sure. I mean, if I take give a little bit of the Europe alone, right? And if I can quote some, like in France, we have quite a big center in France where we work with Airbus and to build their own open data airlines platform called Skywise. This is a public information what I'm sharing, and we were instrumental since 2017 to work with Airbus and few other partners to build the platform and enable to many airlines to build their own applications to provide us an open data platform. So that's one of the major data platform transformation where every major organization is investing. And if I quote another good example in Germany, Schaeffler, which is an automotive supplier. And now we're working with them to build their Industry 4.0 terminology, what people say it in the manufacturing, to their entire factory, and initiative from starting from focuses on the production hub and digitizing the pilot plant for a global production system. And we're working with them in that aspect. And in those two things are in Europe, if I have to give a good examples.
Oh, it's great. And I know, as I say, we're chatting today because you are planning some expansion. So again, you might not want to tell everyone what you're up to, but can you give us some idea of the plans around this expansion? To, I don't know if you're opening offices in places or increasing staffing levels. What's the strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take from top to first. I'll go with the global, right? I mean, it's public information again, and so our CEO set an ambition. We want to become a billion company by 2024, and that's the ambition we put, and we made it public. So in that perspective, so we are working both organic and inorganic aspect. Even so that means like inorganic, we're looking to work acquire some companies, and also both in the consulting space and very specific skills that we needed in the nearshore centers, like Eastern Europe, for example, or maybe in Latin America, or maybe investing to grow something in India, Philippines, and Malaysia, and so on. So that's one of the part of the strategy we set as part of our global strategy rollout. When it comes to the Europe, predominantly currently we are in Germany, France, and Belgium. We just opened this year in Netherlands, and we opened UK a few years ago officially. And now we are planning to expand some of this business into Nordics market next year. So the market penetration perspective, there is a plans in place, and we plan to touch more than 100 million by end of next year as the revenue within Europe, more than 100 million. That's an aim for next year alone. But when we achieve the 250 billion, and I think we will be touching almost 200 to 250 million turnover by 2024 for Europe.
Okay, and I guess often people, when they think of companies coming from the Asian market, they maybe have slight reservations when it comes to things around the supply chain, and I guess the pandemic is exaggerated issues that may be there, and also sort of service and support. So just your thoughts. I mean, it sounds like if you're opening up in individual countries, then you've obviously got the infrastructure there anyway, but just what would you say to people that might be a little bit sort of nervous about those sort of supply chains and service and support issues?
So, I mean, just to answer, I mean, we are not just focused on, yes, we come from Vietnam, that's where our main hub, and within Vietnam, we are not in one location, we are in multi locations within Vietnam. And even today, the customer asks, when they choose a Vietnam, if you look at a COVID perspective, the first wave of the COVID, And Vietnam came the second best to manage after New Zealand, the way the country managed the COVID, and compared to many other Asian countries. So that was a big tick mark to provide, okay, how country can manage their infrastructure and resources when the pandemic happens, right? And from the FPT perspective, our model is not just an offshore supply chain. Our model is a westshore model. So for one of that reason, we are expanding our presence in Eastern Europe, like Czech Republic, Slovakia, and maybe to Bulgaria, right? We're expanding our growth there as well. So it's not only one dependent in Vietnam, but to have the hubs across the globe that can fulfill the supply chain. But again, the norm today is remote. People really don't care where people are available. But as long as there's a good talent and people who can understand and people who can meet what customers would like to achieve. So in that aspect, the pandemic location is not really is a big challenge. It's more about the talent pool is what makes it different.
That's fair enough. And maybe in terms of what Vietnam offers compared to other Asian countries, I'd be interested, because I say, I know it's maybe a bit boring, but India and China are held up as the, the premier IT countries in Asia. But I'd be interested to say, for you to point out why Vietnam is worth considering, and also maybe, for folks that are looking at it, how any guidance on how they can, leverage that sort of digital experience that the country offers.
Yeah, I think I'll give a different perspective here. Why Vietnam? When I go and meet customers, there's people the same question. They ask me why Vietnam. The first thing before I answer why Vietnam, I look at the current market conditions. And if you look at current market conditions, heavily customers have their presence in Asian countries, is either in India or China. And the given today, whatever is happening due to pandemic and the rising attrition level, which every company is publishing, which is going more than 20, 25%, 30% to levels, and uncertainty of available resources is really causing a lot of challenges for large enterprises to their own captives, also with the partners that they are working together. All right. So that is really putting in front of a risk into their board, saying, okay, now I'm in a trouble because I'm not delivering what business is asking for. That means I need to put some kind of a human resource resilience in place. So what does that mean? Is like, I need to look for a location, and I need to look for a new location where I can get the talent. So that is putting in a radar for many people to look at, okay, what are the other countries I need to look at? Okay, Vietnam is there, Indonesia is there, Malaysia is there, as part of the various recommendations, and Philippines is there. But again, then people start looking at, okay, these countries are good, but what else is there? Okay, what of the talent, and how the government is stable, and how government is investing into the universities, and how many people are coming out from the talent? Okay, what is their mindset? So if you compare some of these parameters, and again, Vietnam is ranking quite high, and there is a pure commitment coming out of from the government and also the private investors in the talent build side. And the second aspect is like the people that required from the digital skill set, and most of the people in average the talent in Vietnam is like 27 to 33 years. The young talent is available. There's huge potential, and that's another untapped potential. And they always born and using with the digital skills, born with the mobile, using, adapting in online, not in offline. So that's the talent what people are looking at today, because they come with the startup mindset, they come with a product mindset, they challenge, they're creative, and that is lacking today in most of the markets. So that talent what they get access to today. And the cost perspective, again, which is again, people look at, okay, is that going to be expensive? But if you look at in most of the countries, the raising cost is high, the human resource. And that could is another differentiator in Vietnam. The cost of the resources, the skill that is available is very, very competitive than many other countries.
I'm just wondering, you've given us a good sort of explanation of why Vietnam, is a compelling place in terms of accessing digital. But any advice to people who want to explore further in terms of how they can start getting those resources, leveraging them?
I think that's the first thing to continue to my previous question, right? And people really have to think today to evaluate their current situation of where do they stand today, whether it's their own captives or whether it's their partners, and are they getting what they're getting or not. So they clearly need to define the evaluation of the goals and ambitions, and put the new sourcing strategy in place for them to see where else they need to get emerging talent pools available and which locations, so that they can de-risk the current issues with the new location. So definitely most of the organizations have to do this, and I know some large organizations started doing this, and they really have to define outcomes if they're going for a new location. Because so far, whenever people worked, they had a different, like 20 years back, they decided how the outsourcing works, which location, the thinking was different. But now if they're going for a new location, new thinking, they really have to rethink what they want to achieve, how to refine what they had before, and what is an outcome, and also what is the culture aspect of the new location, and how they need to adapt to the new culture into their organizations and vice versa, to make sure whatever they do is successful. So that's another very important thing that people need to consider.
Okay, and maybe just finally, in terms of FPT, what do you think, or how would you like to see the company developing its working with European organisations in particular? I guess digital transformation. Everyone is on this road to digital transformation, whatever it means for their individual organisation. So I guess in simple terms, how can FPT help folks on that journey, and how would you like to see the business grow as a result?
Yeah, no, there are a few areas, right? I mean, digital transformation, everybody say we do digital transformation. Of course, everybody is doing it and we are doing it. But there are a few things what we try to help and collaborate with the customers. One, our operating model with our customers is a little bit different. And our way of working with customers is co-innovate, co-build, and co-develop. So the FPT works as an extended virtual organization to their teams, and it's like just to quote an example, in a projects it's not an outsource model, it's in a co-develop model. So the customer says have this problem because most of the customers want to retain their own IP. They don't want to let it go. They want to insource everything, but they need an extended help and support. And that's where we position very well today compared to many other competitors. So we provide that kind of a talented team as a virtual organization where they work as part of their organizations to define the scope, and they define the plans and deliver what they want to deliver and hand over back. So that's a unique model where we are able to help our customers to achieve whatever they want to achieve. The second thing is, like, we are heavily investing in the new technologies. We are building a lot of labs, and that will support our customer organizations to reskill their internal employees. And also if they have any research and R&D they want to do, for example, using blockchain, maybe, and using AI or machine learning, and we have those research labs. And we open those research labs to our customers to do the research and R&D projects. And the third thing, now if they want to expand their business into Vietnam, not just in IT, and given FPT brand, we enable those relationship through FPT and the government, and we support those companies to establish their operations, whether it's in a technology or human resource perspective. And one more thing, if someone wants to set up their own captives, if someone wants to really to support them to collaborate to create their own captives, then we are open to enable them to build, operate, transfer, and make sure that any model that makes success to them and is it profitable to us, then we do it.
Okay, no, that's great. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground, and it's been fascinating. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure the viewers will as well. So, Mohan, thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.